Okay, so I'm going to read all of it, but at the same time, I might talk through a few things as I go along so you understand what I'm talking about. So when the note that I gave you in the teaser that talks about you need something at the top, I feel like the teaser needs to read a little more like this. I remember it was a sunny Sunday afternoon, and my mother gave me a look that my father always seemed to interpret as, "How lucky you girls are to have such an adventurous father." Which I always read as, "One of you probably will not survive your father's enthusiasm." Most likely, though, it was my mother thinking, "Christ, why was someone not hurry up and invented Xanax yet?" So my point being, over-characterize mother in these like, "Oh, you're not gonna survive." Like, survive your father's enthusiasm, right? Shift back to this narrator, and then more likely it was more like, "Oh, Christ." And the actual mother voice, use it there. Characterize the first two. Then we close, do the intro. Give me actually something about your father, right? So I would say Justin Halpner, author of the book Stuff My Dad Said, once stated that when it comes to fathers, surviving their antics is key. For Jenny, that's surviving her quirky father. "One time my dad did blah, 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 blah. I wish I was kidding." So, you've got to give me some sort of funny story about that. Alright? So, blah, 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 blah. Let's pretend this never happened. Whoever that is can come in.
Trevor.
Come in! Alright, so now we go into narrating, right? "When I was in 3rd grade, my father rushed inside one night to tell us all to come out and look at what he had at the back of his pickup. I was young, but still well trained enough to know that nothing good could come of this. Usually when my father wanted us to come outside to see what was in the bed of his truck, it was only because whatever it was in there was either too bloody and or too vicious for him to carry inside. My father pushed us all into the cold darkness to show us whatever horrifying booty he'd managed to capture, shoot, or run over. We leaned forward uneasily to stare into the eyes of a dozen grim live birds who looked as if they'd been driven through hell. A few of them squawked, but mostly numbly hid near the corner. You've got to find places to be the birds. That's what's going to make this really funny, right? So, looked as if they'd been driven through hell. A few of them squawked at us, but to me, that's brilliant, right? You've got to find moments like that. But most of them huddled numbly in the corner, no doubt shell-shocked from the wind-blown journey. I would flatline this, but make it dramatic, right? No doubt shell-shocked from their wind-blown journey, coupled with being forced to share a pickup bed with several animal carcasses my father had probably picked up from the taxidermist. To the birds, I assume it must have been very much like accepting a ride from a stranger, only to get in the back of the van to find several murdered hikers who were being made into lampshades. My father explained that the birds were well-behaved Wisconsin jumbo quail. My mother countered that the birds were in fact rowdy turkeys. Those birds loved my dad with a white-hot passion. As the birds grew larger and meaner, I thanked God that we had no neighbors near enough to witness the turkey's behavior. My sister and I tried to ignore the whole situation because my father insisted on naming the turkeys and treating them like they were our pets. Pets who would angrily run at you in a full-out attack, nipping at your ankles as you ran in circles in the yard, screaming for someone to open the door and let you in. An attack led by unpredictable turkey whose name is Jenkins. My father tried to lecture us on respecting our elders, but got distracted trying to calm down Jenkins, who had lodged himself under the mailman's hood and was violently attacking the windshield wiper and gobbling accusingly at the baffled postman. My sister had heard that turkeys were so stupid that if it rained, they would look up to see what was falling on them and drown from the rain falling into their noses. So we began to pray for rain, which was answered by a full-on drought. Do you see how I take these moments? Dry humor, Bentley, is going to make this a lot better. You can't be over the top. You can't be pitchy. Dry humor is what makes this particular comedian funny, right? We often talked about spraying the water hose on them in order to weed out the stupider ones. but thought our father would become suspicious if all the turkeys died in a freak rainstorm that had apparently broken out only next to the water hose. Occasionally, the turkeys would follow us on our quarter-mile walk to school, lurking behind us like improbable gang members or tiny feathered rapists. Yeah. Even at the shy and insecure age of 9, I was aware that a dysfunctional pet turkey would not be viewed as cool, so I would duck inside as quickly as possible and feign ignorance, copiously asking my classmates, "Why are those jumbo quail at the playground?" And then I would slide into my seat, avoiding any eye contact until the turkeys lost interest and wandered back home. This worked perfectly, until the morning when I ducked inside a little too sluggishly, and Jenkins followed me inside. Gobbling to himself and looking both clueless and vaguely threatening, 2 other turkeys followed behind, and I quickly ran into my classroom as the turkeys wandered aimlessly into the library. An hour later, we heard a lot of screaming and squawking, and we discovered the principal and the librarian had found the turkeys, who had somehow found their way into the cafeteria, and they had managed to poop on everything. While lining up in the hall, I froze and tried to blend in like wallpaper, but it was too late. Jenkins recognized me immediately and ran up, gobbling with an excitement like, "Oh God! Isn't this awesome? Who are your friends here?" Now, in the video that you have on YouTube, you actually do this pretty well. I think you can do more like turkey gobbling things. Ask your mom about the old sub at Roy City that used to always do this. I think her name was Miss Hub. She's probably dead.
Hey, where's Trevor?
Can you see him in the middle of recording something?
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I think, okay, so then who are your friends? I think this was the point when I realized that I was kind of screwed when it came to ever becoming the most popular kid in our class. And so I just nodded to Jenkins, and I held my head up high, and I walked down that hallway and tried not to slip on any poop. It was the first time in my abnormal life that I gave myself permission to be me. I was still shy and self-conscious and terrified of people, but Jenkins and my dad had essentially freed me of the bonds of having to try and fit in. You can do this. Let me know if you have questions.